Compared to Sunlit Heights, which was the subject of my last review, I've played in Aurora Skies many times. I feel like the Sims community enjoyed it a bit, but after a while kinda forgot about it, because other worlds were more flashy and had more stuff to do. I, however, always had a soft spot for it, so in this review, I'll do my best to show you everything Aurora Skies has to offer, while also checking if the world is really a hidden gem as I think it is, or maybe I remembered it all wrong because of nostalgia. Aurora Skies is the 8th world added to the Sims 3 store on February 21st, 2013. It's inspired by many of the Nordic and Scandinavian countries, but its main inspiration is definitely Iceland. You know, with all of the colorful houses in the town center, the geothermal lake and the supposed Aurora Borealis that we'll get to later. Anyway, here's how Aurora Skies introduces itself in the main menu. Breathtaking scenery and vast and spoiled nature awaits at Aurora Skies. This quaint coastal town features the very best in harmonious living. Spacious land in an eco-friendly community, majestic waterfalls that come to rest on the banks of a geothermal lake, and hot air balloons that allow you to enjoy the multicolored night sky. What harmony will you find at Aurora Skies? Now that was a lovely introduction, wasn't it? As I did previously, let's start the actual review with getting the one, the only, Tiffany Aurora Skies pole art, dressed for the wintry climate of the north. After chilling on the tropical beaches of Sunlit Heights, she decided to become a scientist in Aurora Skies and pursue her real goal, which is science. Any resemblance to real people is totally accidental, obviously. There aren't many clothes that come with this world, and to be honest, some of them are really ugly. I especially hate this weird combo of a shirt with terrible stripes made of god knows what material, and that hideous skirt. Male Sims get a couple of shirts and some new pants, and surprisingly, even kids get a new hairstyle. But yeah, that's about it. I don't even have a real opinion about Cass in this world, because it's honestly non-existent. It's a nice addition, but doesn't really provide anything we haven't gotten with some other DLCs. So if you are really interested in Create a Sim, this pack might disappoint you a little. What is unique is definitely the aesthetic of this world. Once you load up Aurora Skies, you are immediately hit with the different grass, different foliage, different watercolor, some new rabbit holes, a building style very specific to this world, and a couple of terrain features that are also extremely unique. Let's start with the most obvious. The place you'll most likely take all of the screenshots of is definitely the geothermal lake smacked right in the middle of the map. It's got a unique look with 3 huge waterfalls falling into a steaming white pond, and although it functions the same as the ocean surrounding the whole island, it's a really interesting and creative way to make the water in the Sims 3 world look very unique. Next to the lake lies my favorite rabbit hole out of this entire world really, which is the science building and the hospital building. It's made of so many weird shapes and geometric patterns, but it all looks so cool in my opinion. The other rabbit holes worthy of mentioning, now that we're at it, are definitely the stadium, which actually reminds me of the stadiums I used to go to when I was a kid. The police station, combined with the military base, looks great, and has some cool stuff on the lot around the rabbit hole. The inclusion of beds and toilets make it a great place to do rags to riches with. The grocery shop and the diner both look amazing, and actually represent IKEA colors with the chairs in the dining area around them. And the theater might be a little too bulky for me, but I really appreciate the Easter egg inside it. If you know, you know. The mausoleum, I still don't know how to pronounce it, but the mausoleum and the lot surrounding it might be in contention for the most unique graveyard out of every world in the entirety of The Sims 3. But the creme de la creme of this town has to be the school rabbit hole. The game classifies only the blue building with the slanted roof as the actual rabbit hole your Sims will disappear into, which means your Sims, as well as you with your camera, You can actually explore the makeshift classrooms, the school library, the cafeteria, and outside there's a huge playground, even with a playing field next to it. That unfortunately doesn't have any basketball hoops or a soccer goal because those don't come in the base game. The other rabbit holes aren't so interesting in my opinion, because they are all just recolors from the base game and the Pets expansion pack. I still appreciate that they are not the default, but I wish we could have seen how the city hall, for example, or maybe the business rabbit holes would look like if they were built in that specific style of Aurora Skies, just like the medical center, for example. When it comes to performance, Aurora Skies is actually not that consistent with how they spread out stuff on the map. You might run into some lags when near the geothermic lake, just because it's actually just a lot of effects of a waterfall splashing, but multiplied by 50 and hidden into the ground a little. What's also an interesting decision on EA's part is the actual map, because the map of the town is huge, but the playable area is maybe 1/2 of that, or maybe 1/3, and in that part, all of the interesting stuff is concentrated into one small area. Unlike sunlit tides, for example, the city center is heavily defined with some definite suburbs and medium-income households, separating the definite downtown from the very obvious mansions and big lots that are very spread out. The whole area outside the town center makes almost half of the available space empty, with just a few props here or there and maybe a beach somewhere near. And the last thing worthy of note in this section has to be the thing that the town got its name after, the Aurora Borealis that can sometimes appear in the night sky. If you were expecting an amazing light show full of beautiful colors of all hues that bend into amazing waves that project themselves magnificently into the night sky, I'll have to disappoint you. Aurora Borealis, one of the few things sold as the main features of this world, is, in my opinion, extremely unimpressive. It's nice in the sense that it's different from anything in any other world, but the actual effect it's trying to achieve looks more like toxic fumes flying over the city than the amazing phenomena of Aurora Borealis. Did you know that one family in Aurora Skies is actually tied to one in sunlit tides? The Mango family returns this time with Magnus, who's an older cousin to Maru. There's also the Beaker family, which returns from The Sims 2 Stranger Town. You can find here the young Loki Beaker, who would later go on to torture nervous subject, which is a really weird sentence to say actually, Bjorn and Gunjan Beaker, who aren't deceased yet, and the toddler version of Aaron Singles. Other than these two, and the usual trauma and drama of families in The Sims 3, most of the townies in this world are usually set around their career, or maybe a short little story about a surprise pregnancy or a little romance. It's not that they are not necessarily uninteresting, but the lesson I've learned is that the families in store worlds are usually less complex than those in DLC worlds or even in The Sims 2. The townies I found more interesting have to be the Valquist household, that could have been the first gay couple in The Sims history, but although everything surrounding them suggests that they are together, they don't actually have any romantic relationship. Right next door to them is a family of ghosts, so that's cool, and possibly maybe my favorite bachelorette straight from Pluro, Fjord, who might be a reference to Bjork. I'm so broken because I would have enjoyed if her name was Isobel, but I get that it's just a stupid small little reference and it's, you know, all is full of love and it's in our hands how we handle it, and yeah, okay, I'll stop. Yeah, the families in this world aren't the greatest part of it. They are perfectly fine, but definitely nothing special, at least to me. If you are interested in some of the families, please let me know. I would love to hear what families are really interesting to you. But for now, let's get to the build and buy. Compared to the Creative Sim, build buy in Aurora Skies is definitely more useful and well defined. I have to point out the beautiful foliage, especially the blue lupins that can be seen near the waterfalls. There's also a few new wallpapers with quirky designs, as well as 6 new roof colors that are very prominent in the city center. Other things worthy of note are the new fireplace, the new tub, this funky standing shelf, and those modular shelves. There's also a modular set for couches and coffee tables, similar to the ones in the late night expansion pack. I also enjoy this chair, which is a really weird sentence to say, I think. And last but not least, the hot air balloon, which is the special object and one of the main features of Aurora Skies. I'll talk about it later. For now, let's talk about the houses. I'd say that there are two real build styles in Aurora Skies. I'll start with the less interesting one, which in my opinion is the cottages that are in the suburbs. I'm saying all of that because although they are cute, they only really come in two colors. Either it's the orangey red or the dark brown. On the outskirts of town there are also a couple of mansions that use maybe a different color palette, but they still fit into that theme. It's not necessarily that I don't like these builds or that these builds are bad. I actually enjoy them quite a lot, but I find them to be very similar to each other, and I often mistake some of the families and where they live because the houses look so similar. The next style, however, definitely doesn't have that problem. I'm of course talking about the houses in the city center. Can I call them iconic? I feel like they are the thing that most people remember about Aurora Skies because they are so easy to replicate and are so unique to this world. The shapes look virtually the same, but it's the colors that make the houses pop. One thing that can be weird about them is how big they can get. Some of them have fake floors, while others have empty rooms because there's so much space to occupy. My perfectionist brain also hates that all of them are on lots of different sizes, but other than that, I think that these houses are really cute. When it comes to the architecture of Aurora Skies, what I really love is the creativity with all of the colors and patterns. And yeah, those houses might be simple, but I think they do a great job of replicating the iconic look of some of the buildings in Reykjavik. It's the same with community lots, really. Most of them are hits, but there are a few misses. Mainly the gym and the pool, due to their weird layout and uninteresting design. The beaches here are also quite uninteresting. I don't know if that's a record, but there are 5 beaches in Aurora Skies, which is funny considering that it's the coldest environment available for The Sims 3. There are a few exceptions to this. Mainly, the basalt beach is very simple, but actually looks fitting to the terrain and is interesting with some of its design. But the best one has to be the Serenity Sands beach, with a very cool outdoor fireplace and a makeshift hot tub or a hot spring. The fishing ponds are okay, but nothing more. One is definitely better than the other, but I can at least appreciate the different styles they did for those lots. EA really went off on the community garden though. It looks very cozy and inviting. I think it really suits the area it's located in, so I can't complain about that. What I can complain about is the library. I think it's ugly and it doesn't even have that good of a layout to at least be gameplay friendly. Honestly, same with the art gallery, that's a bit too bulky for my opinion. I really enjoyed the concept of a wallpaper museum, but looking strictly at the gameplay, there's almost nothing to do, even to look at. Lucky for this world, there's a second gym that looks leagues better than the one I started the segment with, but it's still kinda awkward inside. The last couple of lots that I want to mention are the parks. 2 of them are carbon copies of one another, just flipped 180 degrees, and the other one is actually really nice, with lots of stuff to do and some potential for cute screenshots. The hangouts in this world are very unique and do their job fine. The Bjorn Cafe especially looks very visually intriguing and also has a nice view of the sea. And yeah, having said all of that, the title of my favorite community lot in this world has to go to the community pool that looks just sick. All of the crazy pools and the modern design look awesome, and its proximity to the geothermal lake just makes it one of the better lots in Aurora Skies. And that's all of the lots in this world. However, as you can see, this segment has a little more time to it, and that's because of the new gameplay object that comes with Aurora Skies. I'm talking obviously about the hot air balloon that is situated in a small park right next to the other two parks and the yellow-blue building in the city center. I've been putting off actually showing you what it does because, oh boy, this object is working hard to be the biggest disappointment out of any Sims 3 Star World ever. Not only is it extremely clunky to use, because you have to click on it multiple times just to take off, but also when you do take off, you only get maybe 5 meters up at max. To prove how anticlimactic it is, let me show you the difference between the usual POV of a sim standing on the ground compared to what the view is from the hot air balloon. It's also so weird to me how much space they had in this world to make a full-on hot air balloon field with multiple balloons in different colors, but they instead opted for putting a single balloon in the middle of the city. They even did that for the promotional material, so I'm surprised that it's this bad in game. There's literally an empty 64x64 lot that would be perfect for it, just a couple of lots away. I also think that near the waterfalls there's a smooth walk up to the top of the hill, when there's nothing. It would be so easy to make a lot that would be a lookout point where you can use the hot air balloon to maybe get a few meters higher and get the better look at the town. It also doesn't help that if you want to travel with it, instead of a long and slow glide through the sky, you'll be immediately teleported to the lot you've chosen as your destination. And even that is infuriating. I'm even stuttering, because many of the lots don't have the necessary space to land the balloon. But let's say they do. Then the placement of the balloon will be totally random, meaning you can't even make your own stations for the balloon, because you run the risk of landing in the middle of the lot and abstracting it. So then you have to fly again and maybe hope that it will land in a better spot next time. What's the point of using it when going anywhere by car is faster? Aurora Skies is one of the smallest worlds in The Sims 3, so why would you need a hot air balloon to teleport you across the map? Who wanted this? And I know I'm not the only one immensely disappointed by this. Even other Simmers had a similar reaction when first checking it out. I'm so passionate about this, I'll even make a short compilation of other YouTubers finding out how the hot air balloon works in this world.
What? Really? Is that it? Get out of the pool, Duke. I swear, if that's it, that is one disappointing friggin' balloon. He doesn't even care, and I don't care. So apparently, you get in the balloon and you can float a few feet off the ground, and you teleport to wherever you're going. Okay, so never mind. This is not one of the selling points of the town. I take that back. It's a waste.
And as you guys can see, I'll go ahead and pause this real quick. We're not that far from the ground, and I do believe that's as high as you get. So seriously, you're probably like a sim or two height from the ground. That is kind of not what I expected. I honestly expected our balloons to go this high, or maybe a little bit higher than that. And it gets better. It really does. We're gonna go to Fisker's Fishing Park, which is right next to the beautiful falls. Now, I don't know if this is a glitch. Okay. You'll notice what I'm talking about. Okay, so all of a sudden, they pop up here. Now, I don't know if this is happening with you guys in Aurora Skies or not. If it is, please let me know in the comments down below. And if it isn't, let me know in the comments down below, because that kind of defeats the frickin' purpose of having a hot air balloon. If you're not traveling, you're just teleporting. I could do that easily with a click of my mouse. Okay? Just the only point is I'm not in this doopy looking thing. Anyways.
Oh, that is lame. You don't even fly. You just pop up there. Land it. That is so lame. I mean, it's obviously, it's really freaking cool, but you just land there. That's not fun. Man.
On a more positive note, I've taken a break before writing this part of the script, and now I'm gonna talk about the new lot that comes with the gold edition of Aurora Skies. Similar to a couple of other Star Worlds, you can either buy the standard version that comes with the world and all of the necessary objects, or you can choose to buy the gold edition that, apart from having everything else that I've mentioned, comes with the Tiny Prodigy's Early Learning Center and a couple of new objects, with some of them even adding new gameplay. It also comes with a couple of wallpapers, a window set, surprisingly a lot of new rugs, perfect for a child's bedroom. There's also a nice fridge that I don't know how fits with this theme, but I really enjoy it, and a few decorative objects. The main stars of the show, however, are the 3 new gameplay objects that make this lot actually very useful. The best way to show you them is just to use them in gameplay playing on the lot. For that, I had Tiffany get a couple of kits. The source of them is none of your business, and yeah, let's continue. The lot is beautiful. I think compared to stuff from Dragon Valley or even Sunlit Tides, this one is much more universal to put in other worlds. What it essentially is a kindergarten / community center where you can bring your kids and use some skill objects. On the ground floor there's a room full of easels and some computers. There's also a huge room full of kids' toys and a new playpen where you can leave your toddlers to learn. It's actually very OP because toddlers put inside it have all of their needs slowly filled up. But it's also very useful. I would almost consider it cheating, but for a 100 baby challenge, for example, it can be really a lifesaver. While the kids are playing, the adults can chill in the pool, rock on some chairs, grab something to eat or drink, play chess, and even exercise. Or they can go outside and use the second new object, which is a baby walker that makes the toddlers able to walk instantly. They can also play while in the walker, so there's always something to do for them. Overall, this object is great and is very useful. I wouldn't say as much as the playpen, but it's still a really nice addition. I think this lot and the objects are a great addition overall, and I think the only real example of a lot designed for toddlers in The Sims 3 is this lot specifically. Usually toddlers are tied to the household because none of the lots in the worlds are fitted to have something for them, so it's definitely a nice addition. It might even be one of my favorite lots available in the Sims 3 store ever. It's that useful. I'll be honest. While I started working on this review, I had remembered a lot of the stuff in this world much better. The houses are not impressive, and some of them are borderline ugly, which is weird considering how well EA did with Sunlit Tides, which is older. I think Aurora Skies as it is available in the store is a great idea with a somewhat messy execution. The rows are a little bit off and all of them go into different directions. There are many places where it's just dead space. Empty lots are everywhere and it all seems just a little clunky for me. For example, the library, some pools and hangout spots, and a couple of other lots are said to be just the general community lot type, which means that from the game's point of view, there are no libraries or hangouts in this world. Speaking of which, I think it might be one of the smallest worlds we've ever gotten in The Sims 3 ever. Don't get me wrong, it's still huge compared to The Sims 2 or 4, but the addition of a whole island in the back that's unroutable means that you are constantly reminded that this town could have been bigger. I think with a couple of fixes, this world could have been the best looking out of all of them. The original inspiration is stunning, but the lackluster Aurora Borealis is anything but climactic, and don't even get me started on the hot air balloon. On the other hand, what saved this world is the setting. Aurora Skies has definitely one of the most intricate terrain features out of any world. The geothermal lake, although a bit laggy, looks amazing and is extremely unique. It might be a small thing to some, but I also really appreciate the colors in this world. Almost every house has some unique design choices inside it, and it's a great place to go around and steal some color swatches for your own builds. The objects that come with this world are also great. All of them are very useful, even outside of Aurora Skies, and I have to admit, I have a soft spot for this world, because I really like this style of housing. So even though it might not be perfect, it's still one of my favorite worlds because of that reason. Some of the lots are breathtaking, so it's not all bad. If we want to include the Golden Edition too, the Tiny Prodigies Center is one of the best and most generally useful lots The Sims 3 had ever put out. So even if you are not interested in Aurora Skies, I strongly advise you to at least check out this lot. To sum things up, even though I said all of that and I stand by it, I have to admit that there is something so charming about Aurora Skies that just gets me. There might be some problems with how some of the things are handled in this world, but it's mostly overshadowed by how great the actual concept is. On paper, there's so much interesting things to do here, and even the fact that it's the coldest climate depicted in The Sims 3 makes Aurora Skies one of the most unique worlds in the whole game. The geothermal lakes, the hot air balloons, the colorful houses, all of the Swedish, Finnish or Icelandic names of streets and families, it has its charm, and if that's what you like, then you'll glance over some of the issues with it and instead just focus on all of the good this world has to offer, then it will be your favorite world ever. But for now, thanks for watching my meltdown over a hot air balloon. I'll see you in the next one.